When the normal rules of thinking can't be followed, when human values are distorted by mental illness, the consequences can be devastating. Other victims are the innocent and the powerless, as they were in a small Florida nursing home. It's 3 a.m. in St. Petersburg, during what nurses call the graveyard shift. But in the winter of '84, it will be the hour when patients will go to their graves.
In a 50-bed facility, a death of 12 people in 13 days. Wow, you know, what's going on here?
The first victim, an elderly resident who will have his twilight years cut short. His killer is the very person charged with his care. Nurse Bobby Sue Dudley.
Had she not been so prolific in such a short amount of time, she might have gotten away with this type of crime for months, if not years.
Criminal profiler Candice DeLong has studied many killers like Bobby Sue.
We call her type of serial killer angels of death, angels of mercy. They frequently are nurses, and they kill their patients.
But of all the angels, few are as deadly, as quick as Bobby Sue.
12 victims of murder in 13 days by one person in the same institution is horrible. It speaks to her intense compulsion and what each murder was doing for her.
Quite frankly, I think Bobby Sue probably could be termed as having deep-rooted psychological issues that surfaced after the investigation was begun.
This case would take Florida Chief Assistant State Attorney Bruce Bartlett on a journey through a twisted mind into the bizarre world of the serial killer.
She was starved for attention and would do things physically, mutilating herself if necessary to attract the attention that she desired.
Investigations show that before Bobby Sue started attacking patients, she was attacking herself.
Munchausen syndrome is a disorder in which the person makes themselves ill or injures themselves in order to get attention.
Investigators would uncover a long history of self-harm.
I think it would be safe to say that she had Munchausen syndrome.
Bobby Sue had her ovaries removed. There were stomach tumors, a broken arm that wouldn't heal, a hysterectomy, gallbladder problems, ulcers, pneumonia. Each illness brought her the attention she craved.
This isn't looking good at all.
Between surgeries, there were fainting spells.
Munchausen syndrome, it's called a factious disorder. There are certain events that can happen in a child's life or an adult's life that can push them in the general direction that they will crave attention and will actually hurt themselves to get it.
Bobby Sue's mind may well have been twisted at an early age. 4 of her siblings had muscular dystrophy, which needed constant therapy and attention from their parents.
If a child grows up in a family where a lot of her siblings are sick and they're getting all the attention from mom and dad, and the healthy child's gonna get left out. They're gonna get left behind.
Dad, I feel really sick.
Okay, I'll take her.
Possibly at a very young age, she accidentally learned that the way to get love and attention is to be sick.
it was becoming clear that Bobby Sue's entire life revolved around sickness. It filled her childhood. It brought her attention. It led her to a career in nursing.
She saw growing up what kind of power her mother had taking care of her sick siblings. And she wanted that. She wanted to be loved and needed and admired. And if she could get that by being a nurse, all the better.
But at some point, her desire for attention switched from harming herself. Now she wanted to harm others. In St. Petersburg, Florida, 1984, a frightening picture is emerging as police investigate an epidemic of nursing home deaths at the North Horizon Health Center.
They had all these deaths occurring, which was extremely out of the ordinary for that particular facility.
Basically what happened, you had several deaths in a short span of time.
Detectives Tom Rossi and Robert Engelke would soon find a common link to 12 unexplained deaths in just 13 days.
Some of the deaths, quite a few of the deaths were occurring while Bobby Sue Dudley was working on her shift.
Their suspect, Nurse Bobby Sue Dudley, has a long history of harming herself to get attention.
You know, it has to be something going on more than what we're seeing on the surface here.
More troubling for the detectives was that Bobby Sue somehow managed to become a licensed nurse, despite a serious psychiatric history.
She received her nursing degree in '75. She's been in and out of institutions in Illinois for a 10-year period prior to even coming to Florida.
Circumstantial evidence implicates Bobby Sue, but the victims show no obvious signs of injury. There are only suspicions.
You do get this feeling, but you know, you can't convict or do anything just by a gut feeling, so you have to be able to substantiate what your gut feeling is.
Investigators start exhuming Bobby Sue's victims, hoping that their bodies will speak from the grave.
One of the bodies that came up had several injection sites, and there seemed to be some sort of a trace of like zinc or whatever, which would indicate the possible use of insulin.
Insulin, stored under lock and key at the nursing home, is used to stop diabetic patients becoming hypoglycemic. On her graveyard shifts, only Bobby Sue held the key.
Insulin overdose is also known as insulin shock. It causes a variety of symptoms, all of which can lead to death. If someone was given an insulin overdose, their blood sugars would very rapidly drop, and very rapidly this individual would lose consciousness. If they did not receive any sugar soon, this could go on and become irreversible brain damage and cause death.
Many of the bodies of Bobby Sue's victims yield evidence. But the most telling comes from sole survivor, 94-year-old Anna Larson. Although in a coma, her blood test reveals insulin.
Anna Larson was sent to the hospital with insulin shock, is what they diagnosed. She's not a diabetic, so that's, wow, you know.
It became evident that, you know, somebody had injected that insulin. And if you started looking at the staffing records as to who was attending, working that night, she kind of stood out.
After studying thousands of pages of nursing home records and exhuming 9 bodies, prosecutors were finally ready to charge Bobby Sue Dudley. It took more than a year and a half.
It was probably unfortunate for Bobby Sue Dudley that detectives Engelke and Rossi were assigned to investigate the case. They were very tenacious.
Some people said that we would never be able to prove that these were homicides, and then if we did, we'd never get a conviction. Well, we proved it, and we got a conviction.
Bobby Sue is imprisoned for 65 years after a plea bargain for second-degree murder. It was not the first-degree murder prosecutors planned, but it locked Bobby Sue away for the rest of her life. And that was important to investigators. Their evidence suggested there could have been even more victims further back in Bobby Sue's past.
I think everybody felt that there was more than the ones that were at North Horizon. This is a behavior that has been going on for a number of years. She had more than an opportunity at other facilities.
It would raise your suspicions as to maybe she was involved in more than what we could prove.
Bobby Sue had spent her life seeking the attention she never received as a child through sickness and injury. Then, at some point, her behavior changed, and she began to injure others.
I think the best explanation as to Bobby Sue's behavior of killing all these people that she was caring for is, in this case, Munchausen by proxy, hurting someone else to get attention for yourself.
Bobby Sue would never live out her jail term. In what would be her final flirtation with illness, Bobby Sue died of infection in prison.
The fact that she died in prison, probably was fair justice for her.
Some doses of bad medicine are so unexpected, so astonishing, they are almost impossible to detect. At least that's what one murderer was hoping in the summer of 1986 in Auburn, Washington. "40-year-old bank manager Sue Snow wakes herself with a morning ritual. 2 Excedrin painkillers.
That morning, like every other morning, she took a couple of capsules. She took them instead of drinking a cup of coffee. She wanted the buzz from the caffeine, which is part of the pill. The next thing that happened, her daughter, Haley, heard a thump.
Mom? Mom?
She went into the bathroom and found her mother on the floor,
Mom?
unconscious.
What's wrong? Are you okay?
It looked like she might be dead.
Mom? Dad, come!
It appears that the headache capsules are to blame. Writer Greg Olson has chronicled the crimes of many deadly women. This possible poisoning is very close to home.
It was a panic here. Everybody in the Seattle area was dumping their bottles in the toilet or throwing them in the garbage.
Whatever was in the capsules was very potent. Sue Snow had died in the hospital a few hours after taking them. An autopsy report would soon show why.
One of the medical examiners, an assistant, during the autopsy, she smelled bitter almonds. She smelled the scent.
Only about 50% of the population can detect this. It's something that is inherited or not. But once detected, it is very unmistakable. And at that point, you would suspect cyanide poisoning.
Someone had tampered with the capsules, adding lethal concentrations of cyanide.
We were scared. We were thinking, we could have this stuff in our house too.
6 days earlier, there was another suspicious death.
What do you want?
Bruce Nickel has a headache, so his wife Stella offers Excedrin.
Cyanide is a rapidly acting, very potent poison. Basically what happens is you can no longer use the oxygen that's bound to the hemoglobin molecule in your red blood cells. Your lungs would start to compensate by breathing more quickly. Your heart rate would be abnormal, and pretty soon you're going to have very profound damage to the lungs, the brain, and the heart. And death would follow.
Bruce Nickel dies in the hospital just hours after taking the Excedrin capsules. After Sue Snow's death, authorities warned the public about Excedrin, recalling it from the shelves. They fear even more deaths.
If we had held off even a day, then it's likely that someone else or multiple other people would have died from that.
Detective Mike Dunbar was assigned the case that would bring him face to face with the coldest of killers.
Back in those days, we didn't have a lot of protective devices on capsules and packaged medicines to keep them from being tampered with.
Within days of the recall, police get the call they dread. Another possible victim, Stella's husband, Bruce.
He had just seen the news report and that he had taken Excedrin capsules of the same lot number that we had publicized and wanted the county sheriff to come out to her house and check.
The police came out to see Stella at her trailer, and she said, here's a bottle that he took. He took some capsules from this bottle, but just before he died.
Stella hands over 2 bottles of the suspect painkillers. She said she'd bought at 2 different stores. So far, forensic testing of thousands of recalled bottles has found only 2 positives for cyanide. But then something extraordinary. Stella Nickel's bottles test positive, both of them.
How could somebody be so unlucky to go from one store in one town to another store in another town and end up with 2 of the 5 bottles that were eventually discovered? I mean, come on. It's not going to happen.
Statistically, it was nearly impossible that she randomly went to those stores and randomly purchased those 2 bottles. And that was initially what pointed to her as a very good suspect.
Stella Nickel races straight to the top of the suspect list. But 2 things are missing: motivation and proof. Auburn, Washington, 1986. Headache tablets have killed 2 victims in 1 week. Sue Snow and Bruce Nickel. Both are poisoned by tampered Excedrin capsules, laced with cyanide. A killer has randomly planted deadly pills in several stores. After a national product recall of tens of thousands of bottles, police discover 5 are tainted with cyanide.
As I recall, there was, somewhere between 7 and 9 contaminated capsules in each of the bottles. So, you could wipe out a family quite easily.
But incredibly, 2 of those 5 bottles were bought by the same person. The wife of one of the victims, Stella Nickel.
The idea that she bought those 2 bottles at 2 different places was astronomical. It just didn't seem like that could make sense.
Statistically, the odds are almost impossible. Police suspect Stella Nickel is somehow linked to the murders. They start digging into her past.
Stella grew up rough. She'd been raped, She'd had a baby at 14. She had a mother that had 7 husbands. She had a brother who was murdered in their house. I mean, she had everything bad that you can have happen to a person.
But a bad life alone doesn't make a murderer, and Stella has no connection to one of the victims, Sue Snow.
The female predator who chooses strangers to kill is unusual. Generally speaking, when females kill in a serial fashion, they choose people that they know.
The indiscriminate poisoning of random shoppers suggests the murderer is a sociopath, the kind often encountered by criminal profiler Candice DeLong.
People that are sociopaths do wear what's known as a mask of sanity, frequently being married, having children, holding jobs, and no one knows about their murderous deeds.
Was Stella Nichol wearing a mask of sanity? Police investigations are getting closer to the truth.
Once they started digging into her background, they found all these life insurance policies.
It was learned that she had taken out insurance policies in her husband's name without his knowledge and had forged his signature on them.
They found a marriage that was fractured beyond belief.
She seemed to like the party life. She liked to go out on the town and go to the local lounges and bars, and she liked men.
And they found a woman who was basically so greedy, it seemed like she'd do anything for money.
The forged life insurance policy is worth more to Stella if her husband dies accidentally.
Basically, she'd get another $100,000 if it was an accidental death. Murder is an accidental death.
Police start to believe Stella murdered her husband for profit. But she needed the right accident to collect, one that covered her tracks. So she creates an accident that also kills others, poisoned medicine.
She just needed one. She needed one person to die so she could make that phone call.
Her crime was well planned out, premeditated down to the last detail.
Police believe Stella used Sue Snow's death to make sure she got her insurance payout.
In her case, it appeared to be purely random. She just was an innocent victim who happened to buy a bottle of contaminated Excedrin capsules.
The crime is so monstrous, investigators need hard evidence to convince a jury. But Stella left some clues.
So the FBI went down to the library. They produced several books that Stella Nichol had checked out. And when they analyzed the pages on cyanide in 2 different encyclopedias, they found Stella Nichol's fingerprints all over them.
And there is more evidence. Whoever contaminated the capsules left strange green specks amongst the cyanide and painkiller.
They did further analysis of those specks and determined that they were a product called algae destroyer, which is what an aquarium enthusiast uses to kill algae in their fish tank.
Investigators remember seeing an aquarium at Stella's house. It's a long shot, but police check fish stores in the area.
And they came up with one in Renton, Washington, that Stella had frequented. And the fellow there said, "I sold that product to Stella. I'm absolutely sure of it. I told her to crush it up in a bowl to soften it."
Those traces of the algicide got into the cyanide by grinding the tablets up in the same container as the algicide. And that's how the 5 bottles were tied together.
Thanks to great detective work, Stella's fish tank gives her away. Police are now sure they have their murderer.
Stella was a classic copycat killer in that she was duplicating the method of killing that was used in one of the most notorious and highly publicized mass murders in the United States, that being the Tylenol murders in Chicago of 1982.
Stella's scheme is coming undone. 5 months later, the insurance company isn't paying out. There's too much doubt about her husband's death.
Do you intend to lie to me on this test today?
No.
Stella agrees to a polygraph to clear her name.
She thought the only way for me to get those bucks is for me to take that polygraph and I can beat it.
Stella fails the test, and things just get worse. Police pressure her 27-year-old daughter, Cindy.
The FBI told her, if you cooperate with us, you'll get a chunk of that reward. It's a $250,000 reward.
Cindy spills the beans.
I just remember this conversation.
She said, yeah, my mom and I talked about different ways of killing my dad.
Despite pleading innocence, Stella Nichol is convicted and jailed for 90 years. The charges, an American first. 2 counts of murder by product tampering.
For someone to go out and poison medicine in store shelves, for innocent people to come along and purchase and die to put additional money in her pocket, shows that she has no conscience in my mind.
That's what's so compelling about this story, the idea that some people are so evil, so uncaring, so determined to get what they want, they don't care who they take out.
Madison County, Indiana, January 11, 1992. Don Foley is about to make a terrible discovery along the roadside. A farmer and war veteran, he's used to seeing death and suffering.
I've seen dead animals. I was in the service. I've seen people burnt and stuff, so I'd seen it before, but nothing like that. I thought it was a mannequin to start with, or one of them rubber dolls you hear about. She was burnt real bad from here up.
The young girl's body had been sexually assaulted, tortured, burned. The victim, 12-year-old Shonda Sharer. Even those used to brutal slayings, like former FBI profiler Candice DeLong, were shocked by this crime.
For all the years I've been involved in working with people that committed murder as a psychiatric nurse to my work as an FBI agent, this is one of the most disturbing cases I've ever studied.
For Candice DeLong, it's a tragic case of peer pressure gone terribly wrong, turning teenagers into terrifying killers. Shonda Sharer's murderer is not one, but 4 school-age girls on the ultimate thrill kill.
Everybody was shocked when we learned the age of the girls involved. I think that, so I know that's what surprised me more than anything else.
Indiana State Police Detective Steve Henry headed up the investigation.
For some reason, the chemistry was right that night between these 4 girls for this to occur.
Alone, young girls rarely commit homicides. But group pressures can override an individual's instinct for caution.
We see people in groups doing things that they would never do individually. Some of these violent attacks by a group against one person, they take on like a pack mentality. And one person is always the leader, and the others are followers.
It started 3 months before, outside a school dance. Amanda Hevron is with her new friend, Shonda Sharer.
I met her in junior high. I was in 8th grade, she was in 7th. We became very, very close. We became really good friends.
But Amanda's ex-girlfriend is brooding. 16-year-old Melinda Lovelace.
Jealousy is probably the most common motivator of murder, period.
She had tried to beat Shanna up at a dance. I got between them and told Shanna to run.
The relationships that they get in at that age may seem trivial, but that's their life's breath. That's their world. If somebody interferes with those relationships, things can get pretty rough.
Melinda begins writing letters to Amanda. Frightening letters wishing Shonda dead.
Well, obviously, I didn't think she was capable of murder. I thought maybe she'd just, try to scare her, beat her up or something. That's the Melinda that I knew. I didn't know her as being a violent person.
She convinces some friends. Tony Lawrence, Hope Rippey, and Lori Tackett to take a joyride to Shonda's house. None of the three had ever met Shonda.
It's easier to do something when you've got a group of people. You can share the responsibility, share the guilt, share the blame.
Melinda has assembled her pack. The only question now, how far will they go?
There is no doubt in my mind that Melinda intended to cause the death of Shanda.
Melinda brings a knife, ostensibly to scare Shonda.
The pack mentality can take on a life of its own. The leader determines what's going to happen, and the other members of the group, sometimes they'll go along with it to impress the leader, and sometimes they go along with it because they're afraid of going against the leader.
The plan was to lure Shonda into the car, that her good friend Amanda was waiting for her.
There were not mean-looking, dirty child molesters. There were 2 children that looked like her that were not threatening, and they said, just walk 25 feet and talk to her. And that's what she did. And they had her.
I think when the knife was first put to her throat, some of the followers just thought this was kind of a game, that they really had no idea it was going to end where it did.
It would be the last day Shonda's mom, Jackie, ever saw her daughter.
Shanda had never been anywhere that we didn't know where she was or who she was with. Shanda wasn't allowed to go anybody's house that I didn't call the parents, that I didn't go there. I was very, very protective.
Shonda is driven to the countryside, then assaulted. Led by Melinda, 17-year-old Lori Tackett joins in.
Lori took the most active role in helping Melinda. And the other 2 girls, I think, were just kind of going along, something to do on a Saturday night. There's really no indication that they knew what was going to happen.
After the attack, Shonda is tossed in the trunk. before dawn, things will only get worse. In the dark morning hours, in the winter of 1992, one of the Midwest's most horrific crimes is playing out. 12-year-old Shonda Shar has been lured into a car, assaulted, and tied up. Her teenage captors appear to be on a thrill kill.
Shut up.
It really isn't that difficult to kill someone quickly if you have a knife and they are disabled. They can't run away from you. And yet, we didn't see that in this crime. We saw a very long, drawn-out, horrible torture.
Shonda suffers unimaginable abuse. Hope Rippey sprays window cleaner as the assault ends.
One could say Hope really didn't want to deal her a fatal blow, but felt compelled to do something to make it look like she was into the murder.
15-year-old Toni Lawrence is the only one to resist.
I can only imagine that she was terrified. If they did that to her, they can do that to me. Oftentimes, they become paralyzed with fear. And yet, she was able to say, I'm not going to be a part of this, I'm not going to look, I'm not going to do anything. But she must have been terrified.
Shonda's ordeal has continued for 8 hours. At dawn, her tormentors finally put an end to it.
Well, I think these girls used gasoline because partly they didn't know what they were doing. I think if they'd found some big, heavy boulders, they would have dropped them on her body. It was just whatever was convenient, whatever popped into their mind.
The way it was told to me, they drove away and turned around and came back past the body thinking that she would be burned completely up and there would be no trace of her, and she was still there, so Melinda set her on fire again. And then we went to McDonald's and had breakfast.
But Shonda wasn't dead.
They identified soot in her airways, which means at some point she had actually inhaled or was breathing in the fumes, the fire, the burning contents that were all around her. This indicates to all forensic pathologists that she was conscious.
They didn't know how to tell me how she had died, and I saw it on television, that she'd been burned alive. I didn't know that.
Later that day, Melinda confesses to ex-girlfriend Amanda Hevron.
Amanda.
She told me everything that had happened. I thought it was a joke, because I just can't fathom that 4 girls would do this to another human being. This is, this is stuff you wouldn't even do to an animal,
In Melinda's mind, it might have been simple. Remove the competition, and then you'll be #1 again. She also might have been telling her, partly as, look what I can do. And I'll do it to you if you don't come back to me. We don't know.
81 clear. 8814 clear.
That evening, Toni Lawrence, the only one of the four who refused to participate, turns herself in and tells police everything.
Unit 14 clear.
Before the night is out, Shonda's killers are behind bars. Shonda's death shatters her family.
She weighed 77 pounds.
In 91. The year before, that was the year before she died.
There would be another victim, Shonda's father.
Steve could not have been a prouder father. Shanda was his life. From the day that she died, he did everything he could to kill himself besides putting a gun to his head. And finally, he drank himself to death, and he died at 53.
What could motivate such a crime? Jealousy? Pack behavior? Or something else, made possible by other people not even on trial? It's alleged most of the girls came from troubled or abusive homes.
I think every horrible thing that happened to each one of those girls, everything they had held in all their life, they took it out on my child. I think that's what they were doing. I think they just all exploded that night.
Court testimony revealed Melinda had a violent father who abused her mother, her sisters, and a cousin for years.
I think the outrageous home life that Melinda was subjected to at the hands of her father and the mother who didn't protect her from that played a tremendous role in why she eventually grew up to be a murderer.
None of these girls were born murderers. They weren't born to murder children. They weren't born to be in prison. This is what we do as parents. We mold our children into what they are.
All four were tried as adults and pled guilty. Tony Lawrence, the least involved, was sentenced to 20 years, but was released in 2000. Accomplice Hope Rippey was sentenced to 60 years, but released early in 2006. Still serving their 60-year sentences in Indiana State Women's Prison, Lori Tackett and Melinda Loveless, the teenager whose violent past and catastrophic jealousy created a thrill killer.
Melinda Loveless is the closest thing you will ever look at and know what the devil is. Her eyes are empty. There's nothing inside of her.
In 1924, Hardscrabble, a small town in Ohio, was a hard place for all, but especially the mentally ill. With little pity or treatment, a woman's madness consigned her to misery. Mistreated by her husband, even his death offered little relief for Martha Wise. She was desperate to find someone who would give her the love she had never received, and to support her and her 4 children. So when she found a potential new husband, yet was forbidden to act by her family, Martha snapped. Her madness would come to haunt those who did her wrong.
Martha decided the best way for her to handle it, and I think there was a lot of revenge in there from her childhood, was to kill them.
Martha invites her family over for Thanksgiving dinner. She strikes for the first time.
She may not have been the brightest bulb in the pack, but she knew how to go about things in a direct manner. She went to the drugstore and saw the pharmacist there and ordered up a couple of ounces of arsenic. She gave the proverbial excuse of all poisoners, which is that she needed the arsenic to kill rats, which were troubling her buttery or something.
Arsenic has been a renowned murder weapon for centuries. So in the 1920s, buyers had to sign their name with every purchase, in case a killer needs to be traced. Martha plans to kill her immediate family in one meal.
In Martha's mind, killing the people that stood in her path to happiness, her mother, uncle, aunt, was completely logical.
Arsenic has an affinity for the cells that are near blood vessels. Almost immediately, there is damage to the blood vessels of the gastrointestinal tract. There's going to be a gastric upset. There's going to be nausea. There's going to be vomiting. There's going to be the passage of blood both up and down through the gastrointestinal tract.
Martha's mother, Sophie, succumbs, but her uncle and aunt survive, thinking Sophie's death is an unfortunate bout of influenza.
People took these visitations of plague, as it were, for granted, so nobody thought twice about it. It never occurred to anybody that there was some vengeful maniac in their midst who was orchestrating this sickness and death.
The symptoms of influenza can be nausea, fatigue, vomiting, diarrhea, and the symptoms of arsenic can mimic those as well.
Martha isn't finished with her family. Not by a long shot. Over the next year, she secretly poisons 18 more relatives.
The poisons were reapplied because Martha kept either having them over for dinner or going over to her in-law's house for dinner or her mother's relatives. She would reapply the arsenic.
Each time, Martha gets away with it by appearing to be nursing her victims back to health.
Well, arsenic can kill both by an acute overdose. It can also kill by getting small doses over a longer period of time, something we would call chronic arsenic poisoning.
Martha is ridding herself of everyone that's in the way of her happiness.
Have some water.
As a result of this chronic accumulation of arsenic, pretty soon people go into heart failure, people go into respiratory failure, and die a very slow but insidious death.
But the plan has a fatal flaw. Eventually, an epidemic of sickness in one family gets police attention.
They decided it was probably female. It was probably a female of low intelligence, and female of low intelligence with a grudge against the entire family.
And despite killing her family to be free to marry, Martha's prospective husband now disowns her.
Well, the boyfriend essentially turned Judas on her. He testified, but essentially said, I know not the woman.
Martha's deadly harvest came to an end in 1925. She had killed 3 of her family and crippled more than a dozen with chronic arsenic poisoning. The hardscrabble courtroom heard the telling forensic evidence.
We can take hair and actually cut it into small pieces and then measure the amount of arsenic, and knowing the rate at which hairs grow per day, we can actually figure out when these doses of arsenic were given.
Martha is charged with first-degree murder. She's given little leniency for madness.
They didn't call them psychiatrists or psychologists back then. They were called alienists, a term I've always loved. And they examined Martha, and I'm sorry to say that they found her sane and competent enough to stand trial.
Martha would spend the rest of her days in the Ohio Reformatory for Women. But then, the strangest thing happened in Martha's strange life. She finally found happiness.
Prison was probably the happiest place Martha had ever been, and where she was probably treated compared to her parents' family, her husband's family, and her single widowhood. That was probably the best phase of her life.
Martha Wise did better in prison than in real life because prison was easier for her. She probably did not suffer as much from the taunts and teasing and ridicule of other people as she did on the outside. There were probably a lot of other women in prison just like her.
Martha enjoyed prison so much, she didn't want to leave. When she was released at age 79, she came back the very next day. Martha preferred to stay on the inside until the day she died. June 25th, 1983, Pensacola, Florida. John Gentry shares an intimate dinner with his fiancée, Judy Buenoano. She has thrilling news.
I'm pregnant. After all this time. Honey, I can't believe it.
Their future together seems assured. Until later that night, when John leaves the house.
He left, went outside, it was dark. Started the car, turned the lights on. Car blew up.
That night would give Florida State Attorney Russell Edgar one of his most intriguing cases.
To blow up a car with dynamite in downtown Pensacola does get our attention. And it will cause us to work very hard to find out why this happened, who did it, and why they did it.
Miraculously, John Gentry survives the blast. But the discovery of dynamite residue in his car means this is no accident. Homicide Detective Ted Chamberlain is called in.
I've worked a lot of homicides, plenty of them, and this one here was probably the most complex case I've ever worked.
4 days later, Detective Chamberlain asks John Gentry one burning question. Who would profit from his death?
He said, well, really, I don't have any enemies. My mother, she would get so much if I died, and then my girlfriend and I, named Judy, we did have a policy together.
But John insists his loving fiancée couldn't possibly be involved.
No. Can't believe that.
And he said, the policy's canceled, and don't worry about it. She wouldn't have nothing to do with it.
How about we get some champagne?
Champagne inspired.
As the investigation starts, speculation brews in Pensacola. Did Judy really try to kill John Gentry?
Entertaining for tomorrow.
Across town, local newscaster Sue Strawn realizes a breaking story involves a familiar face. She was a client at Judy Buenoano's nail salon.
I was getting my nails done and news came on, and they were talking about the car, the explosion, and police investigating. And it was like the entire salon became deadly quiet. All chatter ceased. Nobody said anything. And Judy never stopped working on my nails. She never looked up, never stopped.
Little does anyone know just how much Judy is keeping to herself.
She was very quiet into herself, and there was almost a darkness about her. There was something, in retrospect, disquieting.
Crime writer Michael Kelleher would later document her trail of deceit.
Judy had told John that she was pregnant with his child, when in fact she wasn't. She had been surgically sterilized more than 5 years before.
Oh, honey, I'm so happy.
In fact, the entire relationship was based on this incredible series of lies that she had woven.
Then even more lies come to light. State Attorney Russell Edgar discovers a disturbing piece of evidence.
And we obtained a policy of insurance that showed that Ms. Buenoano had taken out a policy of $500,000 on Mr. Gentry and therefore stood to gain from his death.
John thought that the policies Gentry, that they'd been canceled. And I told John, I said, no, son, they ain't been canceled.
Can't believe that.
Gentry was a little reluctant to believe it at first.
No.
She's got a $500,000 policy on you, $500,000. And that started him thinking.
John now realizes this may not be her first attempt to kill him.
It came out that she had been giving him vitamins that had been making him very sick.
Judy kept pushing John to take the vitamins.
Do I really need these?
Good for you.
Okay.
He said, I'd take him and take him. He said, I get sick, throw up. I went to the hospital. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me.
My stomach is aching. Ah! Oh,
He said, no, I'm not taking them. I didn't tell her. He said, I took 2 of the pills and put them in my briefcase.
It was later to be discovered that those weren't vitamins, but they were essentially poison pills.
Everything had been taken out of them, and paraformaldehyde had been put in them, and found that that's a class 3 poison.
I'm gonna need to go to the bathroom.
As investigators dig deeper, they find another shocking secret. Judy may have killed before.
I can't believe that.
In 1983, Florida businessman John Gentry thought he'd found his future wife.
How about we get some champagne?
Champagne inspired.
But from the night Judy Buenoano declared she was pregnant, things went downhill. His car has exploded, and he thinks Judy once tried to poison him with tainted vitamins. He's shocked to learn she has a secret life insurance on him worth $500,000. And now police tell John he may not be Judy's first victim. Judy may have killed before. 12 years earlier, Judy is married to James Goodyear.
He was an Air Force sergeant who had been in Vietnam for a year on a tour duty.
James is home ready to enjoy some R&R with his new wife. But what he gets is arsenic poisoning.
Arsenic is a white powder. It has no taste. It dissolves easily. It has no odor. And so it can be easily put into food or drink.
And Judy is cunning enough to serve up tiny amounts that go unnoticed.
Thank you.
Long term, the arsenic deposits in the tissues and progressively damages both the liver and the heart. So many times, chronic arsenic poisoning is very difficult to detect.
Within 3 months, James Goodyear is dead. Judy collects a handsome insurance payment, and her murder remains a dark secret for more than a decade. According to criminal profiler Candice DeLong, this first murder set the stage for Judy Buenoano's career as a serial killer.
Frequently when we see women killing repeatedly in serial type fashion, one of the motivators is money. They're killing for profit.
But more than a decade later, James Goodyear would speak from the grave when Detective Chamberlain's team exhumed his body.
There was enough arsenic still in him, like fingernails, the hair, to kill 12 people. So he was loaded. I mean, that boy was loaded with it when he went down.
Judy had gotten away with murder for 12 years, but she has an even darker secret involving her son, Michael.
When he turned 18, he wanted to join the military. And on his way to his posting in Georgia, he visited his mother.
Michael has no idea that Judy has taken out several insurance policies on his life.
Mom, they're good for you.
It's believed that at that time, she fed him arsenic.
Judy is about to commit the unthinkable to poison her own son.
Sociopaths don't feel love the way normal people do. A normal mother or father could never kill their child. To her, he was just another big check waiting to get into her bank account.
He didn't die. He went on to his next duty station. He became crippled. He became so crippled they had to discharge him from the military, and he wore braces on his arms and his legs because he was paralyzed from the elbow down and from the knees down.
Worse still, he's back in Judy's care.
He gets out of the hospital with all these braces on and everything else. She's got insurance policies on him.
Judy took Michael on a canoeing trip.
Mom, do we really need to be doing this?
He had 15 pounds of weighted braces on his arms and legs that enabled him to hold or grasp things.
Michael can barely walk, let alone swim.
She had apparently taken him up the river a couple of terms, out of sight of the landing and out of sight of public view.
No one can be sure why the canoe capsized.
One of her stories was they hit a log and overturned. Another story was that a snake fell in the boat.
How long does it take to drown with 15 pounds of weight strapped to you in the water? What must he have been thinking? Was my mother gonna come and save me? Was somebody going to reach down and pick me up out of this water?
Any other parent, if your child had fallen into the deepest ocean, I think our first instinct, you're going after that child.
But not Judy. Sometime later, Judy hails a passing fisherman.
She said nothing about the son until she got to the shore and said her son was up the river. She thinks he might have drowned. And then asked for a cold beer.
She collected military life insurance and 2 private life insurance policies on Michael.
She caused his disability that resulted in him needing these heavy metallic braces on his lower extremities that pulled him to the bottom of the lake, where he was unable to be saved. She did all of it. That's sadistic.
By the summer of 1983, police have pieced together Judy's secrets. Her latest extreme attempt to murder finally brings her undone.
She absolutely overreached with the car bomb. That was completely unnecessary. It was also outside her MO, outside her normal way of attacking her victims. But I think that boils down to wanting too much too soon.
Police would allege Judy murdered her son. She poisoned her first husband and attempted to kill her fiancé, John Gentry.
She was a truly evil person, and that's the sense that I got when I was in the courtroom with her. It was a sense of evil. I really hadn't had that except a few times in my career, 30 years prosecuting.
A jury finds Judy Buenoano guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree grand theft. She is executed by electric chair in Florida on March 30th, 1998. Although Judy insisted to her grave she was innocent, those who knew her have no doubts about her guilt.
There's something. It wasn't right. I even have a hard time admitting that to you now. But how do you put it? It wasn't right. There was just something that wasn't right.